As the global community battles with the rising challenge of refugees fleeing war zones, persecutions, and terrorist attacks, particularly in the Middle East and Africa, one faith-based international organization that has consistently stood on the side of refugees and in close working relationship with both the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, UNHCR, and the United States Department of Population, Refugees and Immigration is the Church World Service, C.W.S. The body, which has the history of standing with the world's vulnerable and protecting the oppressed, has in the last 60 years assisted in the successful resettlement of several refugees and other displaced persons from different countries of the world, thus helping to confront this age-long human social problem headlong. And as the United States government prepares to admit 85,000 refugees in 2016, 10,000 of which are from Syria, CWS is already helping several refugees to resettle in the United States with the support of both the government and the larger society. At a media briefing of the New Jersey Refugee Resettlement Center of CWS, with a resettled Syrian refugee, Hussam al-Rostom, in attendance, it was a fully packed room that played itself out with several foreign media organizations in attendance. According to the center director, Mahmoud, over 100 refugees were successfully resettled in the United States in the first 6 months of the center's operations, with much more still being processed. How easy does it come by for refugees and displaced persons to be resettled in the United States?
They have a resettlement process where they meet a resettlement criteria. There's 7 resettlement options, 7 resettlement criterias. And if the individual meets one of those 7 resettlement criteria, the UNHCR will then contact the Department of State that will then get involved, and the USCIS officer will be in links in coordination with the UNHCR.
In addition to that interview, refugees go through a myriad of background checks before they enter the United States. That process can take anywhere from 2 to 3 years, sometimes even longer, so they are extremely vetted. We like to say that refugees are the most vetted population that arrives here in the United States, and that's really true.
Although CWS applauded President Obama administration's resolve to increase America's annual intake of refugees over the next 2 years, the body is insisting that 100,000 Syrian refugees need to be resettled in the United States over and above the annual number. The resettled Syrian refugee shared his thoughts.
And what that had on his chest was, I'm a Syrian, I'm not a terrorist. And the French people welcomed and embraced him to the point where they cried when they saw him and hugged him.
Foreign journalists were then conducted around one of the storage facilities where several of the items donated by individuals and the larger community in aid of the refugees resettlement process are being kept, with an appeal for greater global support for these vulnerable people, a greater percentage of whom are women and children. This community in New Jersey area of the United States is of diverse population, mostly immigrants, and this is where most of the refugees have been settled. But for security purposes, we are not allowed to interface with these refugees. The total number of refugees across the world as of today stands at 60 million, which, according to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, has reached its highest point since World War II. From New Jersey, the United States, Adeshino Anidugbe, Ogtv News.